A collision is coming that will redefine the future of the internet computer, and it has nothing to do with its code. This is not about a bug in the system or a flaw in its cryptography. The existential challenge is external, emerging from the old world, and it threatens to constrain a future built on decentralization. To understand why, we must first appreciate the sheer, radical scope of what ICP is attempting to build. If this deep dive into the complex forces shaping ICP's future resonated with you, show your support. A like on this video helps the channel ICP Crypto Insights grow and bring you more essential analysis. This video is created for educational and informational purposes only. It does not promote or endorse any financial product, investment, or cryptocurrency. All information presented here is based on publicly available sources and independent analysis. Viewers are encouraged to conduct their own research before making any financial or technological decisions. The grand vision of ICP isn't just to build a better blockchain. That would be a modest goal. Its mission is to reconstruct the very fabric of the internet itself, creating a decentralized world computer where apps run autonomously, free from corporate cloud control. Imagine a social media platform that can't be censored because it lives on thousands of independent nodes worldwide. Picture an enterprise software suite that operates without Amazon or Microsoft servers. Its logic enforced by smart contracts. Envision financial services running with complete transparency, governed by code rather than opaque corporate policies. This is the promise of the internet computer, a new paradigm where the internet becomes the computer, a public utility governed by its users. This isn't theoretical. It is a live, breathing, and expanding reality. Thousands of canisters, ICP's smart contracts, are live today, hosting everything from decentralized social networks like DSCVR to financial tools and enterprise applications, all powered by a revolutionary governance system called the Network Nervous System, or NNS. The NNS is the beating heart of ICP's autonomy, a decentralized mechanism that allows token holders to vote on everything from network upgrades to economic parameters. This system enables the protocol to evolve without a central developer team pushing updates. It is a digital democracy in action. The technology represents a monumental leap, proving that a scalable, secure, and sovereign internet is computationally possible. Yet, alongside this technical triumph, a monumental hurdle looms, one that technology alone can't solve. It is a hurdle built of laws, borders, and centuries-old legal philosophies. The most sophisticated code in the world still operates within a physical reality governed by nations. We are now witnessing the inevitable tectonic clash between a borderless digital protocol and a planet carved into rigid legal jurisdictions. On one side is a system designed to be unstoppable and permissionless. On the other are institutions whose mandate is to create rules, enforce order, and maintain control. This is the great conflict of our digital age. Regulators, by their nature and design, operate by identifying, locating, and controlling entities. They need a who and a where. Who is responsible for this platform? Where is the company headquartered? Who is the CEO we can call before a committee? ICP's core design principle elegantly and deliberately resists all three. It is anonymous in governance, global in presence, and leaderless in operation. There is no headquarters. There is no controlling entity. There is only the protocol. This fundamental tension between the need for accountable control and the philosophy of distributed trust is the single greatest factor shaping ICP's path to global adoption. What happens when unstoppable code meets immovable law? The answer will define the next era of the internet. The challenge isn't merely one inconvenient law or a single hostile regulator. It is a chaotic global maze of overlapping, contradictory, and often archaic rules. There is no unified global regulator. Instead, there is a patchwork of regional power centers, each with its own priorities, fears, and legal traditions. In the European Union, the Markets in Crypto Assets Regulation, known as MiCA, represents one of the most comprehensive attempts to bring order to the crypto space. It seeks clarity by defining asset classes and imposing rules on service providers. However, MiCA was fundamentally architected with centralized intermediaries in mind: exchanges, custodians, and issuers. It asks, who is the licensed service provider? For an application running on ICP, this question has no clear answer. Is it the developer who wrote the canister, the node provider hosting it, the NNS participants who voted for a subnet upgrade, the network itself? This ambiguity isn't a bug in ICP. It's a feature of its decentralization that existing law cannot neatly process. Across the Atlantic, the picture in the United States is even murkier, characterized not by a single framework, but by a contentious battleground of competing agencies. The Securities and Exchange Commission often views tokens through the lens of the Howey test, a legal precedent from 1946 concerning orange groves, applying it to determine if a digital asset is a security. The Commodity Futures Trading Trading Commission claims many cryptocurrencies are commodities. The Treasury Department focuses on financial crime enforcement. This fragmented, adversarial environment creates a pervasive regulatory fog. Projects operate under the constant threat of enforcement actions from multiple directions, even when acting in good faith. For ICP, which aims to be a neutral global infrastructure layer like the TCP/IP protocol, this uncertainty is a poison. It chills innovation, deters institutional adoption, and forces developers to build with one eye on the law rather than fully on technological potential. Turning to Asia, we find a fragmented puzzle of extreme contrasts. Some nations, like Singapore and parts of the United Arab Emirates, have adopted innovation-friendly stances, creating regulatory sandboxes and clear licensing regimes to attract blockchain talent. Others, like China, have implemented strict prohibitions on public blockchain activities and decentralized finance. This geographical patchwork directly attacks the core of ICP's promise: a universal, permissionless internet. Can a decentralized application truly claim to be global if it is legally inaccessible or outright illegal for users in major economic regions? The borderless nature of the network ironically intensifies this problem, creating a high-stakes game of regulatory arbitrage. Developers and users may flock to friendly jurisdictions, but this balkanization undermines the vision of a seamless, unified digital world. The network operates everywhere, but its legal acceptance is piecemeal, creating risk and complexity at every turn. Now, let's dissect the specific, acute pressure points where this clash becomes most intense. First and foremost is the issue of securities law. The ICP token is not a simple digital asset. It is a multi-tool with deep utility embedded into the network's operation. It is fuel for computation, converted into cycles that power canisters. It is a staking mechanism for participating in network governance. It is a store of value within the ecosystem. This multi-utility defies simplistic classification. A regulator looking only at secondary market trading may see a speculative instrument, but this view misses the token's functional heart, its role as the essential resource that makes the entire machine run. Treating ICP solely as a security would impose a regulatory burden designed for corporate equity onto a piece of network infrastructure, potentially crippling its utility and misaligning incentives for everyone involved. The second pressure point is consumer protection, a noble and necessary goal that becomes incredibly complex in a decentralized context. Traditional consumer protection relies on a clear chain of responsibility. If a social media platform spreads misinformation or a financial app loses user funds, there is a company to fine, sue, or shut down. On ICP, applications are autonomous. They are governed by code and collective governance votes. If a DeFi protocol on ICP has a logic error that leads to a loss, who is accountable? The original developer? The NNS participants who voted to host the canister? The anonymous node operators? There is no CEO to subpoena. This does not mean consumer protection is impossible on ICP, but it necessitates a profound shift in approach. Protection may come from code audits, decentralized insurance pools, reputation systems, and transparent governance, not from targeting a central entity. Regulators accustomed to the old model will find this new landscape deeply unsettling. Third, we confront data privacy regulations, epitomized by laws like the European Union's General Data Protection Regulation. GDPR enshrines powerful individual rights, including the right to be forgotten, the ability to have your personal data erased. This principle stands in direct tension with a core feature of most blockchains: immutability. Data written to a public chain is, by design, permanent. For ICP, which hosts applications that may handle user data, this creates a significant design challenge. Developers are forced to employ advanced cryptographic techniques, such as storing only encrypted data on-chain or using zero-knowledge proofs to reconcile privacy with transparency. At the network level, aligning a decentralized data storage paradigm with regional privacy laws remains an ongoing, unsolved challenge. The conflict is not just technical, but philosophical, pitting individual privacy rights against the value of a permanent, verifiable public record. Amidst navigating these treacherous waters, the DFINITY Foundation occupies a unique and delicate position. As the primary research and development contributor to the Internet Computer Protocol, DFINITY is naturally seen as a leader. Yet, for the network to be truly decentralized, DFINITY must avoid becoming the de facto central authority that regulators and the public instinctively look to. This is a precarious tightrope. Regulators seeking a responsible party will inevitably knock on DFINITY's door. The Foundation's role must therefore shift from operator to educator and navigator. It must explain the technology's nuances, clarify the limits of its own control, and help chart a course through the regulatory maze, all without ever holding the steering wheel of the network itself. This balancing act is one of the most subtle and critical challenges in the entire ecosystem. One of the most heated and immediate regulatory debates impacting the entire crypto space, and ICP acutely, centers on unhosted wallets, what we commonly call self-custody wallets. This model, where users hold their own private keys, is the very embodiment of crypto's ethos of sovereignty and personal responsibility. It is the antithesis of the traditional custodial banking model. However, regulators concerned with anti-money laundering and terrorist financing view these wallets as a dangerous blind spot. They enable peer-to-peer value transfer outside the monitored banking channels. For ICP, where applications are designed to manage digital assets and identities directly on-chain, restrictions on interacting with self-custody wallets would be catastrophic. It would sever the connection between the user's sovereign identity and the on-chain application, crippling DeFi, decentralized identity, and governance participation. The fight for self-custody is not a minor technical debate. It is the fight for the soul of Web3. It is a battle to determine whether individuals or intermediaries will be the primary custodians of digital value and identity in the future. This conversation naturally leads to the intertwined issues of Know Your Customer and anti-money laundering regulations. KYC/AML rules are the bedrock of the modern financial surveillance system, requiring regulated entities to verify customer identities and monitor transactions. Permissionless participation, however, is a foundational design pillar of ICP and similar decentralized networks. The ideal is that anyone, anywhere, can interact with an application without asking for permission. Mandatory upfront identity checks for every user of every DApp fundamentally clash with this philosophy. It recreates the gatekeepers that decentralization seeks to remove. In response, the ecosystem is innovating at the edges. Some projects are pioneering models of selective compliance, where a DeFi protocol might only require KYC for features that interface directly with traditional finance, like fiat on-ramps. Others are investing heavily in decentralized identity solutions, systems that allow a user to cryptographically prove they are over 18 or licensed in a certain jurisdiction without revealing their name or passport number. These are the new, fragile bridges being built between the world of cryptographic trust and the world of legal compliance. The ultimate expression of the code versus law clash is found in governance. The network nervous system is a masterpiece of decentralized coordination, enabling on-chain collective decision-making with unprecedented speed and sophistication. It is a beautiful and efficient machine for protocol evolution. Yet, our global legal systems have no framework for recognizing a decision made by a cryptographic voting ledger. Law recognizes persons, corporations, and partnerships, entities with legal personality. It does not recognize a smart contract with a majority vote. This creates a vast gap between on-chain actions and off-chain legal recognition. If the NNS votes to allocate treasury funds to a development project, is that a legally binding grant? If it votes to change a fee parameter that impacts a business built on ICP, what legal recourse exists? There is a growing, urgent conversation among forward-thinking legal scholars about the need for entirely new entity structures, something like a decentralized autonomous foundation or an on-chain legal person. The goal is not to force a square peg into a round hole, but to create a new hole altogether, one shaped for the reality of decentralized networks. This is a long-term endeavor, but a vital one for true integration. So, faced with this daunting labyrinth, what is the pragmatic path forward for ICP? The answer lies in a relentless, three-part strategy: continuous innovation, proactive education, and strategic integration. First, the ecosystem must build its way through. This means developing better privacy-preserving technologies like zero-knowledge proofs directly into the protocol. It means creating modular compliance tools that developers can easily plug into their dApps, tools for transaction monitoring, identity verification, and reporting that respect user privacy. The technology itself must evolve to meet regulatory concerns halfway. Second, education is non-negotiable. The vast majority of regulatory fear stems from misunderstanding. Policymakers often visualize crypto as a wild west of speculation and crime. The ICP community, from DFINITY to individual developers, must engage in a sustained campaign of demystification. This means explaining in clear terms how the NNS works, how data is handled, and where true accountability can and should lie in a decentralized system. It means showing that a well-designed decentralized network can offer better transparency and auditability than many opaque traditional corporations. Third, integration with the existing world is key. Real-world partnerships with enterprises, governments, and academic institutions are not just good for adoption. They are a form of regulatory diplomacy. When a major corporation runs a supply chain solution on ICP, it demonstrates tangible, compliant value. When a city government explores putting public records on-chain, it creates a use case that regulators must engage with seriously. These partnerships build bridges of credibility and normalize the technology within established frameworks. Regulation, therefore, should not be viewed as a wall to break through with brute force. It is a complex language to learn, a system to navigate, and ultimately, a set of societal rules to help shape. The journey of the Internet computer will be dictated as much by proceedings in courtrooms and debates in legislative halls as by the brilliance of its chain key cryptography or the speed of its consensus mechanism. Overcoming the regulatory challenge is not a side quest for ICP. It is the central mission if a decentralized Internet is to peacefully and productively coexist with our existing societal structures. The future does not belong to those who hide from regulation or who dream of destroying the state. It awaits those who have the courage to engage, the creativity to build new legal and technical models, and the patience to collaborate across the divide between the digital and the physical. The vision is too important to fail at this final hurdle. If you find this deep dive into the future of decentralized technology valuable, support this channel. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the bell icon so you don't miss future updates. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.